Hi, everyone. I've seen that the clock has begun ominously ticking down. We've got an hour here, and thank you all for coming. It's so wonderful to see you. The lights are very bright, but I do know you there. I saw it before when you walked in. My name is Trent Kusters. I'm the co-founder and studio director of an indie game development company here called League of Geeks. I'm also the host of a podcast called The Game Maker's Notebook, where I interview game developers and leaders throughout the games industry. And I'm on the Game Developers Conference Advisory Board. But today I am here interviewing a man who I'm sure if you're here needs no introduction, but we'll do one anyway. This wonderful gentleman to my left is Luke Dale. He is an actor, voice actor, and also a filmmaker too, in your past as well. And of course, Lord Hans Capon in War Horses, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm seeing so many familiar faces from the meet and greet, so thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, we heard it's a double whammy for you. First time in Melbourne, first time in Australia.
There's been a lot of firsts in the last few months because my life's in such turmoil right now. So yeah, I'm off to Japan on, as we said, on Monday, tomorrow. First time here.
Great.
And it's been really wonderful.
How many strange yet deadly animals have you seen in your time?
Not as many as I thought. And I went to the zoo. So you would have thought so. But I didn't even see the kangaroos at the zoo. I was like, where are they?
Yeah.
It wasn't easy navigating that zoo. But I saw the koalas, and that was great.
Very cute.
Yeah.
We won't talk about what's wrong with the koalas here on stage. Everyone knows.
What is not wrong with the koalas?
But even the cute ones have something going on. Like platypi have like a poisonous spur on their hind. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But we've survived. We've all made it to adulthood and here to chat with you. Now, something that I do on the podcast when I chat with folks is I always start it off with, what's your first memory of games? And I think it's a great place to start any conversation like this. Do you have and I don't mean just the first game you played, but something that kind of set your brain alight? Because I know you're a RuneScaper, you're a big RTS player as well. What's an early memory for you?
In terms of the thing that, because it was really my brother that was my influence with gaming. He was really into his games when we were kids. And he had a Sega Mega Drive, and then my first memory of what gaming was from that. But I can't say I was old enough to really appreciate what was playing on the Sega Mega Drive yet. But when I did, I think it was probably, what would I have played Abe's Odyssey on? Would it have been a PS1?
PS1, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where it all began. Abe's Odyssey is like the first game I think that I can remember being really important to me. And I used to play that non-stop. And I was obsessed with the world that they created. Such a cool, weird world.
It is,
It's fantastic. And I think people still play it to this day, even though it's ancient.
Yeah. A lot of charm is a funny word to say with that game because it's a particular type of charm. But
it's a
very idiosyncratic game.
Yeah,
wonderful. And but the start of your career is obviously not games, it's acting. I understand that you graduated from the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, I believe. So talk to me a little bit about how acting became the thing that you wanted to do and leaning into that.
I wasn't the most focused of children. And this was a problem for my mum because she was like, you've got to find something that you're good at.
Anything, Luke,
Anything
please.
will do, Luke. And I was pretty good at English, but I wasn't particularly interested in much else. I liked English. And then one day, I think we were doing a school play. It was a bit of a weird school play. And at one point, I had to get up and do a speech. I was quite looking forward to it, but maybe a bit apprehensive. But I did this whole speech. And I stood up on stage and I did this speech. And at one point in my head, something just went, I'm going to improvise this. And I don't know why. I was very young. I was 11, 12 years old. And I just started interacting with the audience and it worked. And people laughed a lot. And I got audience participation. It was parents there, so they're all running around and getting them to throw the beanbag things in buckets and playing games with them. And my teachers were looking up at me like, "What are you doing? This is very off script." And I don't know what came over me, but I had so much fun. And then afterwards, instead of reprimanding me, which I thought they might, they went up to my mum and they said, he's got something here. You should get him into a drama school on the weekends and the evenings, you know, which is exactly what my mum did. And from then on, that was it, and I embraced it, and I suddenly became very hyper-focused, and acting has then, since then, afforded me so many opportunities and so much. I just became interested and curious about the world because I had a way to do it. Like, it gave me a path, and I think everybody needs their path to feed their curiosity. So, yeah, that was it.
Interesting you say a way to sort of view the world or engage with the world. Do you enjoy inhabiting different, was it the attraction of inhabiting different roles, or was it just more so that now you had this purpose and it provided you with when you wake up in the morning, a kind of sense of what you're doing, where you're heading in the long term?
I think it was both, but for me, I was always really interested in character and what makes people tick. Like, and the idea of what a thought even is. And how do you make someone believe that what you're saying you mean? And, you know, little idiosyncratic things about how people move. And I was really interested in animals and putting animals into characters. And yeah, and that's where drama school was really incredible, because you do all of that work there. I was a squirrel for like a whole term at drama school. I was a squirrel, like, actually. I used to go to it was kind of grim, but I went to like a graveyard, and where all these squirrels hung out, because that's where I'd found them all. And I'd take a big bag of peanuts, and they would just crawl all over me. And I did that for like 3 months. And I'd be there with my little writing pad, and people would look at me and be like, "What the fuck is that guy doing with all these squirrels?" But I was the reason I chose squirrel, by the way, was because it was very against my rhythm. I'm quite heavy and slow and kind of like, you know, and squirrels are very like jittery, and so. Yeah, I've just always been obsessed with character, and yeah, that's what drives it.
I know there's an interesting story here. I've heard you talk about kind of falling almost out of love with acting or quitting acting at one point. I'm not sure if that was before or after. Was that before or after the actor's apprenticeship?
Oh wow, you really have done your research. It was after.
All right.
Yeah, the actors.
Let's talk about that, yeah. So the Actor's Apprenticeship is because you are, as I mentioned, a filmmaker as well.
Yeah.
It was
my first film.
That you directed, right?
Yeah. It was my first film, and it's, if anyone wanted to check it out, let me preface by saying it's terribly shot, right? Because it was just me with a rubbish camera. I didn't have any lights. I didn't have anyone helping me. I had no sound equipment. It was absolutely rubbishly shot. And it was my first film, and I was just winging it. But I managed to get some of the most famous people in the UK to speak on it, which was insane. So I got like Judi Dench and Derek Jacobi and Imelda Staunton and Jim Carter and
it's quite impressive.
It's quite amazing,
I was like jaw open when I saw Judi Dench appear
I know,
on screen.
and she, you know, I'd won this award, and the guy that ran that award introduced me to her, and I was like very, very lucky to get those people. But I just wish I knew more about cinematography back then, which I do now, but I didn't then. So it doesn't look great, but I think the story of it is still valid. And what the film is about repertory theatre, which was very prevalent and very important to the fabric of British culture back in, you know, pre the 90s really, and then TV completely decimated it, and it doesn't exist anymore, which is a real shame for actors who want to practice their craft all the time. You know, the beauty of it was that you would do, as an actor, this is just brilliant. You would perform a play in the evening, and then in the daytime, you would be rehearsing the next play you were going to do. So you were always busy. You were always constantly being nourished. You were trying out weird different texts and Shakespeare and moderns, and you were just being stretched and pulled in every which way, and it made for such a great training. If you just left drama school, you've learned all these things that you can then put into action on stage every single night.
Yep.
You've got a sense of apprenticeship from the people above you who are older. If you're a young actor, you've got these people teaching you their little tricks.
Yep.
That's gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I was so obsessed with it because I thought, God, I want to do that. Where is that? And it wasn't there. So
Interesting. So I guess it's like it needs to be video games, but one done every week, once a night.
yeah.
So, but let's kind of pivot a little bit and talk about after the actor's apprenticeship, this decision to quit acting. It's, for someone, we've just spoken so much about your love for it and the purpose that it's given you, and then investing so much of your time into literally making a film about the importance of something that's now missing from pathway into acting for other young British actors like yourself, and then all of a sudden to quit. How did we get there?
It was not a decision I took lightly.
I can imagine.
It might have been the worst period of my life because I was I couldn't get any work. I remember my first ever agent that I got was one of the best agents in London. And we had a conversation, and she called me, and she was like, "How do you think this is going, Luke?" And I was like, "Not well. I don't know why, but I can't seem to land any gigs. And my tapes are good. I get recalls. I feel like people like my work, but I just don't ever get the gig, and I don't know why that is." And she was like, "Yeah, neither do I. And I don't feel like I can help you, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong or you're doing wrong, but like this is rough." And I was like, "I know." So we kind of just parted ways. And then I got another agent, and the work they were getting me wasn't great, and I didn't like it. It was very low-paid theatre work, and it just kind of petered out over time. And the final nail in the coffin was I did this low-paid theatre job, and I was like, I can't make a living. I can't make a living from this, and I love it, but I'm gonna want to come back to acting when I can afford to, when I've got other skills, when I can comfortably work on something else and not have this acting thing be the be-all and end-all, because at that time, it's all I had. I didn't have any other skills. To make money, I was a nanny. I was waiting tables. I was working in bars. I was doing events, and I was barely getting by. In London, it's expensive. So I had to take a step back from it, and it was rough. It really was.
I can imagine, like, as we've seen with how you've poured yourself into it, there must have been a sense of ego death almost in that, like, your whole identity is wrapped up in this thing.
That's exactly right. I did not know who I was without being Luke Dale, the actor. I had no idea. So in a way, it was good because I ended up finding out a lot more about who I was without all that stuff. Luke Dale, who went to a great drama school. I was like, okay, when I introduce myself to people now, what am I going to say? I've always said I'm an actor, and I went and got a sales job for a year, and then I was like, hi, I'm a salesman. It felt so strange. I was like, what is this? But actually it was good because I did learn other things, and I did become a filmmaker, and that ended up being very, very great. Like, such a great life that I had in that interim period between now and then.
Was there anything that happened, any event or anyone that you can remember from that time, something that was said to you that kind of helped you get through that or saw that? Because I think the thing with when we encounter something that's so devastating to everything that we've invested our identity into, or a dream that we have, especially when it's our identity tied with something that is meant to give us stability and, financial security or riches and fame or whatever it might be for some actors, it's often much scarier losing that thing, or the fear of losing that thing, than actually losing it and diversifying yourself. And as you've said, like, that going through that process has actually been one, it sounds like, of immense growth and character building, and that you are fine, and you've obviously come out the other end and you've returned to it. But in that real darkness of that moment, was there someone around, your mum or a fellow actor or anyone that lent some words of wisdom, or did you just kind of push through it and figure it out for yourself?
I have very luckily got a good support network in my family. They were devastated I was going to have to stop, but they understood why. And the main thing for them is obviously always that I'm doing something I'm happy, And they were very aware that I was very unhappy. I was very depressed, and I think they respected the fact that I was going to go and try other things, but they always maintained, like, please go back to it eventually. Like, they were like, you're so good at this, you've got to eventually find your way back to it. And I was like, we'll see. I mean, I don't know, but I also don't like to chase things that don't want me.
Yeah.
Like even with my relationships, like if someone doesn't want me, I don't go chasing them. I'm like, it's got to be met in the middle for me, everything, because otherwise it's very exhausting. And that's what was happening with acting. I was chasing it. Please, I need a job. Nothing coming, right? So with filmmaking, when I pursued that, it was a real meeting in the middle. I tried to do it. I worked really, really hard, harder than ever, to quickly forge a career in it. And I was getting work.
Good on you.
I was getting clients. I was making good money. It was wonderful, and it took me all over the world. It was an amazing job that I got to do that. So, but then yes, with Kingdom Come 2 coming back to me, I had a decision to make, and it was on the eve of lockdown, actually, in London, where I was called. And
so this was even, sorry, just to interject, but this was even you'd quit after KCD1. So you'd done KCD1, and then you're like, okay, still not getting roles. And I remember just another aside, I heard an interview where you're saying, when you're in these auditions, they can smell the desperation on you as well.
They can. And I don't think I was a very attractive prospect.
All right, so Kingdom Come Deliverance, so you've got it's like the one last job, John Wick smashing the concrete, and you pulling out your gauntlets or whatever to play it again. But you got the call, or
so. Do you mean with the one
with
or
KCD2?
Two?
Sorry,
So I was in. I remember it vividly. The phone call. It was on just before we went into lockdown. Everyone was very unsure of what was going on. There was rumors about this virus, blah blah blah. I was like, God, am I going to go back to Sheffield and stay with my family? I don't know what I'm doing. But I was working for an events company as their resident filmmaker, and that was going really well at the time. Anyway, I get a call from the team at Warhorse, and they said, we're going to do a sequel. We want you to be a much bigger character this time. Are you in? And I was like, instinctively, yeah. I just said, yeah. I didn't have to. They would definitely have found another actor to take that. But I was like, yeah, I'm not done. And I'm really glad I said yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Good on you.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing as well is that Hans Capon does take on a much bigger but also richer role in KCD2. Very much goes from being this lovable, annoying little shit to something like incredibly. I think we all. Come on, I know you're laughing. You all agree. That's not inaccurate.
He's a little shit.
But something that is so rich, and I think really speaks to the talent of the writing team over at Warhorse.
100%.
Yeah,
it does.
And you said on the phone call they said that to you. They told you that it was going to be a much bigger role. How much did that play into your acceptance of the role? I mean, if they came back to you and they said it was just kind of another bit, like another part, similar size to the last one, was it kind of this evolution of the role that attracted you to it, or were you like, sub me and coach regardless?
I don't know the answer to that. If they'd have said, oh, it's just a small little role, I may have said yes. I don't know. But they did impress upon me that it was going to be a crucial role, that was going to be very central to the story. And when I heard that, I think yes. I think I probably went, well, that's interesting. And I did love that character. I still do. And I was like, it would be friggin' interesting to see what they're doing with it. And I'll hear them out here. Like I say, I'm very glad. And
I imagine there's an element as well that if you're playing the game 4 years later and it was someone else's voice behind Hans Capon, that would have stung a little bit too.
That would have stung.
While you're editing your latest film, for release. So let's talk a little bit about Hans Capon. The first question I'd love to ask, of course, is how, do we have a Larry David situation going on here where he's just like the little shit that you really want to be in real life? Like, how close is this character to you? I'm sure that you just slip into him now after, 10 years or 9 years of playing the character, right, or more. Did it take a little bit to get into him? How different is he from the Luke Dale that we know now?
So it's a funny thing. In my real life now, as a streamer, as someone that's played this character, people really they call me Lord.
I've noticed, yeah.
Which I'm sure you're aware of, and I find I love it. I think it's so funny, you know, and I'll never get tired of it, to be honest. I do have to keep my ego in check because of that. I come from a working class family in Sheffield, and you know, I never dreamed that the role that people would know me for would be a noble lord. Like, it just could not be further away from my experience of life. Like a
steel worker from Manchester, maybe, or something like that, right?
I always thought I'd be known for playing gritty northern working class roles, and that is not what happened. And you know, maybe that's because I think at drama school I wasn't by force or anything, but my accent changed completely. So this is not how I used to talk at all.
Right. Well, when you said the north of the UK, I assumed that immediately that this was not your real voice.
I used to sound very much like Sean Bean, very much like Sean Bean, like exactly the same accent. But at drama school, it changed because I had to learn this accent for work anyway, to get roles like different varied roles, and so I started learning it and doing it. At drama school, you tend to go, all the actors walk around doing different accents all day. It's it's very strange, but you have to practice, and everyone's kind of being very supportive of them and like, oh, you're doing that today, okay, fine. But yeah, eventually it just stuck. I don't know why, but it did. And so, yeah, I guess it sort of right now sort of suits me that I play Lord, because I've got this I don't sound that different from Capon. Maybe my accent's a little less posh. I do ham it up a little bit for him, but yeah, it is odd that was the character that became the biggest deal, you know.
Did you have any inspirations for the character, or sort of going into it, and then while you were performing it, whether in number one as you're discovering this character, or number two as you're delving deeper into his psyche and helping to really create a much more complex character than the first one, did you have any kind of centering traits that you would kind of find yourself grounding yourself into as an actor at any point in time? Who is Hans to you, you know?
Yeah. It always came quite naturally to me. And what you have to do, really, is you have to work with the team very closely, and they have to help you. I don't know how much you guys know about how they film this stuff, but it's very... it's not luxurious for an actor. It's not, because, especially for the Baldur's Gate lot, and I've talked to them a lot in private about the way they shot it, because I was so intrigued by that. I was like, how did you do it? And they talk about it, and it was similar for us, but I think even worse for them, because, you know, they'd go into the studio, and you know, you're in a booth and you're completely disconnected from all the other actors, and there's very difficult to build a rapport there, or have any semblance of an arc with a character. Like, if you're working on a film, you're on it every day, you're building this thing. Theatre even better, because you're rehearsing all the time, and you're constantly in the theatre, and you're playing it every night, and you can build it and change it. With gaming, you're plopped in, and they're like, right, you hear your circumstances, go, and it's like, I've got to. How do I? Yeah. So for me, it was all instinct. It was I had little things that grounded me for him, but I acted very much on instinct, and I listened to the team and what they in that moment needed from me, and yeah, that's probably a terrible answer, but
no, it's great. It leads into the next thing that I was going to talk about, which is I interviewed Prokop Yursa, who's the lead designer of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. He was on the Warhorse team for the first one as well. He's also one of the writers, works very closely with the writing team. And we spoke a lot about realism. You know, we were talking about the game's design and the vision for the game, but the realism comes through into the dialogue as well. I know it's something that you've commented on before, that the dialogue is very much a dialogue that you would imagine two real people having. So it's kind of a two-pronged question here, which is, how much did that realism play a role in how you played the character, and any kind of difficulty or challenge in it? And then how much did the team assist you in things like the way that they would speak and, you know, historical Bohemia and all these things? And how did you attain that realism as an actor?
The dialogue in the game and the writing is why you are all here. It's why you like it so much. It's why I love doing it, because it feels like, as you say, it's natural, and they work so hard to do that, even to the point of, like, there's a wonderful gentleman who was the translator from the Czech language in which it was written originally to the English, and his role was absolutely integral every day. And we would play out the scenes in the performance capture studio, and he would be the one to be like, is that colloquial? Does that feel real? Because I think he was the guy that came up with the word pizzle.
It's funny, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So John Comer, thank you for the pizzle. Shout out to John. Irish guy, lovely bloke, and he translated, the whole thing to English. And we were constantly aware of that, and the script would change on the day if the actors were like, I don't know if this feels natural. And so that was a really important part. But
so it sounds like there was iteration happening on the floor as well.
There was, yeah. It was always open to change. Not that much. It didn't always need that much change. But, like, you know, the odd word, the odd turn of phrase, you know, if you wanted to say something and it just felt a bit outdated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they would say that. So yeah, it grows as you go with it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Speaking about your relationship with the team, I mean, we've seen it for those of you who are in the room. I'm sure some of you will. Like, some of the best videos to come out of, we would say, quote unquote, the marketing of KCD2 is just you roaming around Prague with your mates from the studio.
That was almost more fun than shooting the game, to be honest. I had more fun on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about especially your relationship with not just the Warhorse team, but some of the other actors like Tom and things like that. Whereas obviously there's a special relationship there with Henry, who I believe you interviewed for originally, right? You were interviewing for Henry originally?
I auditioned for Henry, and then they went, no, he's fine.
This guy. Bit too posh for Henry. This isn't the son of a blacksmith.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me about this relationship that you forged, how integral it was, you think, to the quality of your performances, but then also any actors that you may have learned from. I know you've referred to some of the Czech English-speaking actors as like the A-team before, right? Like, tell me about your relationships.
Oh my God. So people often ask me, like, what's the best thing about working on the game? And I always say, like, it's the team at Warhorse is just amazing. You know, I mean, in 10 years of working with them, we've never had a crossword. I mean, especially in the performance capture studio, it could very easily become quite stressful at certain moments because you're in this, boxed room and you've got different people coming in and out, and it can get frustrating at times, if you're not getting what you want. And everyone keeps their cool, everyone stays respectful. It's just a wonderful atmosphere that they create, and they really do. And for that to happen for 10 years is such a wonderful thing. In terms of the actors, obviously, Tom's all right, I guess. No, I absolutely adore the man, and he's like my anchor, really, for everything, especially over the last year where we've been doing a lot of conventions and we've been doing a lot of activities together. Like, it really was a baptism of fire in the beginning when we started to do stuff like this, and we sort of looked at each other and we were like, what's happening? What are we doing? Is this okay? We were scared, but we had each other, and that was great, and we could confer with each other on every decision that we were making. And that relationship is born out of 10 years of work together and mutual respect for one another and one another's work. And yeah, I mean, he's just amazing. He's just such a, what you see is what you get with Tom. He just is that lovely bloke, and there's nothing else. It's just he's just pure good. And then so there's also the Czech actors. Well, there's actually a lot of British actors who live in Prague, and some of them speak Czech, some don't. But they live in Prague, and they get brought in to do voice work for basically any Czech company that's making anything, because they're there, so they don't have to be flown in, and they're just wonderful, like Logan Hillier and Michael Pithen, Jim High. These guys are just fantastic, and yeah, they've been really awesome to work with as well. They're really solid. James Beaumont. Yeah, great guys.
It's amazing the bonds you can build with people when you spend 6 hours in spandex together, right? It's like with these rings. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I believe the second game, something that was different in KCD2 in comparison to KCD1, was the move to performance capture, right? So maybe inform the audience a little bit here about the difference between mocap and performance capture, and as you said, they may not understand what goes into the process. Talk to them about like what a session might look like.
Yeah. So the main difference between the first and second game was that the technology had improved, and I think that was probably budgetary, the reason for that.
The access to technology.
And with the first game, they were like, we can live without the facial recognition software. But the second one, they absolutely wanted it, and I'm really glad they did, because as an actor, it's nice to know that what I'm doing with my face matters to the performance, And so, that was the main change. So with the first game, when we did the motion capture, it really was just our movements, and they weren't capturing this ugly mug. But the second one, it was, and we had a camera right in the center of your vision. When that was a challenge. Because you also got lights up against your face as well. So you've got lights and a camera right here, and you're trying to talk honestly and truthfully with your counterpart, but look over this camera and these lights in your face, which is very distracting. So it was a new challenge, but I think it's very worth it, because every little thing that we do is captured, and I love that.
How do you suspend your disbelief as an actor when you're in this room? Like you said, there's lights in your face, you're in spandex, you've got this thing on your head, you're sitting on a block that's meant to be the back of a cart, and you're in shackles. So how do you build that kind of mind palace of imagination?
I love this question. This is what I always love to talk about, because it's so different from any other challenge that you have as an actor. If you're on a stage in the theater, you are likely going to have costume, props, things to aid your imagination and to help you on your journey to trying to be this role and convince people that what is happening is happening. With film, the same thing. It's even more so, because you are genuinely going to be in that position, not on a stage. You're going to be out in a lake or whatever, wherever you are. So you don't have to pretend much. You just have to kind of adapt to your surroundings and like commit to the moment that you're in. With performance capture, as you say, you are in a grey doll room, wearing a lycra suit with balls all over it. And the camera and the lights, and you're looking at other people and they're having the same thing, and you've got about 20 people watching you, and you do your T-pose, and and it is, it's so hard initially to get over that. It is. I remember feeling, as a young actor working on the first game, so out of my depth. And I think it was there were a couple of days that were rough. So I was like, I don't think I'm doing a very good job here. This is really hard. To pretend I'm in a bath house, splashing water and getting drunk. I don't know if people are going to buy this. It doesn't feel right. I'm in a makeshift scaffolding. with like pretend mugs. It just like none of it felt right. Like, is this are you buying this, guys? But what I will say about that is that with time and commitment to it, your imagination is like a muscle, and it gets better and stronger. And I think I'm a much better actor because of it. Like, really, I really mean that, because you are forcing yourself to forget that you are in this silly room, and you are actually in this lake going towards these girls, and telling Henry to shut up, and and like every little movement, and you start to change physically every little thing that you're doing to accommodate this, and you're working far harder with your imagination. You're not overdoing anything physically. You're not doing more than you should if you were in a film. But your imagination's working harder, much harder. And then hopefully that infuses and influences what's going on in the body as well. And it still needs to feel natural. It's not, you're not overacting. It's just you're working much harder in your head.
And how much did they kind of involve you, or even just inform you, or let you in on the process of how that was evolving throughout development? I mean, once you got all your stuff in the can, right? Like, you come, you do your sessions, you lay out the cut scenes and whatever you might need to do. I believe all the sword fighting and all that motion capture is, with respect, done by professional sword fighters, right? Not yourselves, yeah. So you come, you do a bunch of stuff, you record all these scenes. How long was it until you saw the result, or some kind of work in progress of what you had done in a kind of setting where maybe there was actually some 3D greenery or actual card or something?
I'll never forget that day. I think it must, so we would have recorded, okay, so it would have been maybe 5 or 6 months into the process since doing the first set of performance capture. And then, so we went back out many times, and at some point, they said, guys, would you like to see something early? I'm like, yes, obviously, let's get it. They were like, it's not finished, you've got weird hair and the grass isn't green and like blah, blah, blah. And we were like, we don't care, we just want to see where you're at. And they showed us the scene at Trotsky Gate where I get shit poured on my head. And they showed us the whole thing. And I had hair like a monk. And it was red, and I was really pale. And I was like, is that the new look for Hans, or are we changing that? They were like, we're changing that. I was like, okay, good. They were like, your hair will be nice and luscious. I was like, great. But yeah, we watched it, and I was just in hysterics. And what really struck me about it, and this is what Warhorse are particularly good at with their cutscenes and their direction, is the pacing of a scene. I love how they take their time and they let the audience kind of go along gently. And, it's filmic. The game is so filmic. They don't rush anything. And, just that moment where he knocks on the door and he's like, oh, let me in. And then he's just waiting around, and then the footsteps come. And then, and I was just like, this is so well done. This is such so filmic, so beautifully done, and the beats are there that allow you to laugh. And I was like, you guys are smashing this. This is going to be amazing. That was the first time I went, this is going to be huge. Like, really is.
You're like, I made the right decision coming back, smashing that concrete, getting back into it.
It was amazing.
They really are masters of tone and pacing. I remember that same scene, and so my relationship with KCD2 is I didn't play KCD1, but my business partner, who's a big history buff and everything, just fell in love with it. And I was like, this game's, I love my RPGs, but it seemed a little bit too hardcore or sim-like for me. And then I jumped into KCD2 because I was going to interview Prokop for the podcast. And then I kind of blinked, and it was about 200 hours later. I was like, I guess I really like this game.
Yeah, it does that.
But the thing that struck me was, and thinking about that moment early in the game at Trotsky Gate, is that the game does take a moment to really slow you down and say, and it's something as well that I spoke with Prokop about, is this, and with good reason, because it's fantastic dialogue, but that they've just committed to the fact that we are a game for people who are going to enjoy this kind of tone, enjoy this kind of pace and everything. Which kind of segues me into this next evolution of your career, which is kind of happening post KCD2, which is now you're a streamer and YouTuber.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I think, you're like, oh God.
What am I doing? What am I doing?
Yeah, that's it. Once you can't put that cat back in the bag once you've started that.
It's too late.
So tell me around the decision space of like how that came about, and especially I think how that relationship between being a performance actor in video games and streaming, how they sort of complement each other.
You know what? No one ever asked me about this. This is fascinating. So I find the streamer/actor thing really interesting. Okay, because you won't find many of them. And also, it's very rare you'll see someone super successful streaming if they're an actor. And I think there's something of maybe like the world's catching up to the way the media's changed. And maybe, you know, there are certain actors I think that wouldn't stream because it's maybe too revealing of who they are, you know. I think people like Anthony Hopkins would say, well, I don't want you to know who I am, right? And that's fair. But I think the world has changed. And I was of the belief that you can straddle both, and you should be able to straddle both. And I hope that you can. And I'm still finding out whether you can. And I don't know. Because I've auditioned all this year. I was very lucky to get a couple of agents again. And I haven't landed one job, you know, and I'm trying. But I don't know whether that's because I don't know. I don't know why. But I'm still hopeful it's possible to do that. And I think, you know, it'd be nice if it could work, because the ideal situation would be, you know, I go and work on a game and then I stream that game I'm in, you know. And I think some actors actually are doing that even now. So it is possible. It's definitely possible. But it's a very new idea. That's not something that's been around very long at all. That's probably in the last 3 years, 4 or 5 years.
It's like you and Jack Black, basically, which is fantastic company to have. It's interesting because we see it the other way as well. Sometimes we'll see YouTubers then start to appear in some of our favorite games. I know a homegrown Aussie, Alana Pierce, Shara Lanazard, is making her, you know, sort of foray into acting and stuff like that in games. So I do find it quite interesting because it seems a no-brainer. And especially the wonderful thing about your foray into video games was watching you play. I've seen a few of the clips and everything, but I wasn't there for the whole experience. But watching you play KCD2, I mean, what a magical experience for folks who've really thoroughly enjoyed that game and spending time with your character to then go and spend time with the Lord, the man Luke Dale, as he's playing through and experiencing that game. I believe it was the first time you'd played the game as well, right?
It was. I looked so forward to that for years, actually. I was working up to it, and I would stream every now and again, not massively, but, you know, I wanted people to know that is what the plan was. I was going to be doing that during the launch, and it's been incredible. You know, it's changed my life. It really has. I have so much more freedom now. Right now, I'm kind of traveling and streaming on the road, which is such a privilege to be able to do something like that. And it's because of the fans of this game that allowed me to do that. So I'm very grateful for that, and I just love this new kind of venture, this new career. It's not always like roses and sunshine. You know, there are hard times with streaming, and, you know, people online can be mean, guys. They can be mean. So that element of it is not always fun. But for the most part, you know, people like yourselves, but most part people are lovely. And yeah, it is a brilliant thing to do. And sharing it, as Tom is doing now. Tom is obviously streaming now the game, and he's still going through that. And sharing that experience with everyone was just so special. It's such a beautiful thing.
Are there any particular moments from playing the game with everyone online that either elicited memories from your performance or were just sort of bowled you over and were experiencing them as a player and seeing how they brought to life, or anything that particularly sticks out to you revisiting it?
God, I mean, there's so many. all of it was so moving. The prologue seems like an obvious choice, but I think I cried like 3 times during the prologue. That moment with his dad where he's in a dream, that made me cry. I thought Jim High killing the dog was horrendous. I mean, awful. Like, his performance was so good. I was so genuinely shocked and taken aback by it. I was like, oh my Christ alive. It shocked me to my core. The poor bloody dog. And then, like, certain moments were really cool to see played out that I knew were coming. And Hansry, #Hansry. That was incredible. That again was an absolute joy. And a lot of people joined me for that one. And then what else? Oh God, the finger of God I was really interested in seeing that because of how much we'd worked on that, and the pacing of that was going to be interesting, and such a big moment. I always say about that scene, like, what's so cool as a challenge for the actor is that back then, for Hans and for the others, they had never seen artillery of that nature in their lives. So the scary like dread that they were feeling must have been insane, because they can't fathom what's about to happen. They know something bad is coming, but they're like, what is that? Like, what is that? Like, what is going to happen to us? We're going to die. I mean, that is such a strong, deep thing. So so watching those scenes that I was looking forward to, and sharing them with everybody, and people were so kind to watch, like, was amazing. Yeah.
We're talking about, and for good reason, we're talking about the story and the characters and everything, but let's just for a moment talk about the game itself, right? The actual design and the experience of playing the game, because it kind of, I mean, you're a RuneScaper, right? Like, it's kind of like now this big, like, photo-real RuneScape almost, right? It's just obviously without the magic and everything, just the magic of real life. Now, was there anything in particular about the gameplay that you really enjoyed, or you found yourself loving? Did you being a cheeky bugger, like terrorizing people at night, or?
I got to playing with stealth much later in the game. I hadn't really played with it. And then when I did, oh my God, I loved it. I had the full outfit, and I was like killing bandits left, right, and center, not leaving any prisoners. It was fantastic. Yeah, it's so much fun taking people out.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, I think for me, so before I played it, actually, I watched a review, and this is what really got my juices flowing with the game, and I began excited about it. And there was this great review by a Brummy lad who's got a big YouTube channel. I forget his name, so I do apologize. But he was like, right, what I'm going to do is, this lady keeps beating me at dice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow her home. And I'm gonna wait till nighttime, and then I'm gonna creep up into her room while she's sleeping, and then I'm gonna take her dice and all her clothes, and I'm gonna keep them, and then we're gonna see tomorrow. We'll fast forward time. Tomorrow we'll go back to the tavern, and if she's there with no clothes and no dice, because it was a weighted, she was cheating, so it was a weighted dice. And he said, if she is there with no clothes and no dice, and she hasn't respawned with clothes and everything, then this is the best game I've ever played. So this is a big moment. So he did it, and of course, lo and behold, she goes, and she's wearing a nightgown because she's got no clothes left to wear, and she hasn't got the weighted dice. And he beats her time and again at dice, and he's like, "Best game of the year, game of the year, game of the year, game of the year." And I was like, "Wow!" And that for me really illustrated what this game is and how it's captured everyone's imagination. Because what game can you do that with?
Yeah.
That level. Maybe Red Dead is pretty close, but I think we took it even further, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's just wild.
And I think all of us have had a kind of similar rob the old lady of her clothes in a dice moment in the game, you know? It just as dastardly, just as systemically driven and emergent. It's just such a wonderful playground for those things. Has sort of your streaming kind of reinvigorated a love for video games? Do you find yourself playing games more?
So I save it for the stream. I'll be honest. I don't play games off stream just because I want to make sure that like I don't get fatigued by it at all, right? So when I stream, I stream for quite a long time, and I want to save that experience for when I'm on there. But definitely has invigorated my love of video games. It's funny, while I've been on the road and I've been IRL streaming and I haven't been able to stream games for quite a while now. It's been a couple of months at least. I miss it like dreadfully. I really am. That crave that you get, and you're like, I'm really craving to play a game. I'm getting that all the time, and I can't wait. There's so many. It's been such a great year for gaming. A lot of people keep saying, "Oh, you're going to get Game of the Year," and I'm like, I'm not so sure. I mean, it's been pretty fierce this year.
It's pretty crazy. People are talking about, you used to be able to play at one point all the games, and then you were able to play all the good games, and now it seems like there are so many Game of the Year contenders. Yeah. And, some of them are 200, thank you, some of them are 250 hours long as well. It's almost impossible to play all the games.
We're spoiled.
We are
spoiled.
Spoiled.
We've eaten good this year.
Feasted like kings, like lords.
We have.
But IRL streaming is the new thing that you've been into, as you mentioned. So tell me a little bit about, customizing to that and, or acclimatizing, I should say, to that and your journey. Are you feeling comfortable now, or still nervous whenever you boot up that camera and start wandering?
I'm quite used to it now. It all came about. I didn't even consider doing it until I did a stream with S-Fand, who's a big stalwart streamer. He's been going for years, and he was in the Czech Republic, and he went to Rataj. And he messaged me and he was like, "Do you want to come to Rataj, Lord Capon?" I was like, "Sure." I mean, it's my fucking home, but sure. And we did this stream together in Rataj, and it was so fun. And I was like, if this is what IRL streaming can be like, I want to get into this. This looks really fun. So, funnily enough, the guy he was with that day, behind off camera, runs this company called Unlimited IRL, and he set me up with a kit. And so, ever since then, I've been kind of testing the waters of it. I don't really know what I'm doing, as per. But I'm trying different things. Like I did a show. I should say as well, because you asked if I wanted to plug anything. I did a live stream kind of series, which was I called it Side Quests with Luke. And basically, I did medieval tasks and challenges on stream with a guest.
That's so good.
Yeah. So
it's like Taskmaster, but in the medieval times.
Yeah. and I would interview the guests throughout the day or a given point. So it's kind of like a podcast, but kind of action-packed. So I thought, I didn't just want to do a podcast that just sitting in a room. Nothing wrong with that, but I just was like, how can I make it a bit more exciting on live stream? I was like, well, let's both do something together. Let's have a challenge. So I had other streamers in, other actors. Andali, the streamer, we both did medieval cooking, and I burnt the stew, and of course I did. But so I get to learn something new every time. I do something difficult, something that challenges me, and I get to learn about someone else, and we have fun. And I was like, that's a kind of a cool thing to stream. So I did 5 episodes of that. Then I did a series in the US where I went to abandoned buildings and scary places and haunted places, which is completely nothing to do with anything else, but just thought I'd try that. And next I'm off to Japan to stream there, and I probably no one will watch because everyone's asleep back home. But I'm just feeling it out and kind of trying things and going, right, what works, what doesn't, what do people like? So we'll see.
Yeah, wonderful.
I enjoy it.
Now, I know you've done so much work into, obviously we've spoken about the documentary you made, your time coming up as an actor, the amount that you talk about it on stream and interviews that you've done. What kind of advice would you have for someone who is playing these games and thinking that a career in performance acting for video games would be their ultimate dream? How would you kick them off and send them off with some words of wisdom?
So I think training, is a really good place to start if you have no training at all. If you've never done voice acting, you've got to train a bit. You've got to get like a semblance of understanding of preservation of your voice is one thing, because you can spend, Tom does 8 hours because he got so much bloody material to get through. I wouldn't recommend that, but he would do 8 hours. We do 4. And, often you're screaming at the top of your lungs and you can really mess yourself up, like truly. And your training will help you to stop doing that.
4 hours is like 1,000 lines or something like that, wouldn't it be? It's like that's a lot of writing.
It is a lot.
Getting through.
It is a lot, and often a lot. You'll do all the shouting at once. It's like, can we break this up a bit? Just for that sake alone, it's good to train, just so you don't burn out and you don't ruin your voice. That's number one. So, but also it will bring confidence with it. The more you train and the more you get to know it. So getting I don't know, a coach or going to do formal training at a drama school, whatever it is. I would also say if you want to be an actor, don't limit yourself to one thing. Go and train at a drama school and go learn theater, go do TV, go do everything. Don't just do video games. Don't just do voiceover. It depends on what you're after, but I think, you shouldn't limit yourself. And then beyond that, it's about putting something together that you can send to people. So some kind of reel that you've worked with someone professionally on. It shows your range. It shows what you can do. It'll have a commercial on there. It'll have a bit of narrative on there. It'll have a scene maybe, but something short, condensed, that you can send in an email to an agency, like a voiceover agency, and you go, that's me. And hopefully they like it, I will say it's very hard to get an agent. I struggled for years to get one back after I'd come back to acting, and I eventually did. But and then you get an agent and you don't get any work.
Well, it's also,
so it's
guess,
really hard.
I imagine you think, all right, well, I'll get an agent so I get some work, but no agent is going to want to work with someone who's not already gotten some work, right? Because you need to demonstrate some value to them as well, right?
Yeah, it's really tough, that. Which is why I always implore people to make their own work, which is what I did. I just started making films and stuff with my friends.
Starring me, right?
yeah. But yeah, you can make stuff fairly inexpensively these days. If you get a group of you together, you can make something. And it's very nourishing to do that, and will teach you so much more than just being in something. Yep. I've learned way more about life, about my career, about acting, about directing than by making things myself, by being a producer and a director, than I ever would have by just turning up on a set and doing a small part in something. It's much better to do it yourself.
Now, I won't force you to give everyone here advice on how to get into streaming, because I'm sure that there's a bunch of resources out on that. But one thing I do know that you've developed quite a love affair with is Prague and the Czech Republic from all the time that you've been there. So I'm going to ask you a kind of adjacent IRL streaming adjacent question, which is, if I were a big KCD2 fan and I wanted to do the ultimate Kingdom Come Deliverance tour of Prague, because it's a real place, right? These places exist.
It is.
Tell me your fan favorites. What would you recommend people go and see and do that they may not even know actually exists there in real life?
Yeah. Well, as you guys are so far away, it sucks, but you've got to do it. If you go to Europe, you've got to go, and don't just limit yourself to Prague. Go to Kutná Hora, which used to be called Kuttenberg. You can do Kutná Hora in a day. It's stunning. It's so cute. It's so lovely. They've maintained it so well, and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at the similarity. Even to this day, it's still a medieval village. It hasn't changed that much.
The loot is still incredible.
The loot is there. Yeah, go into the underground tunnels and just take what you bloody like. And then you can also do Trotsky. I highly recommend doing Trotsky. It's wild, guys. I mean, it is insane when you see it in real life. You're like, that motherfucker put a castle on a mountain. Yeah. what kind of, yeah. So it's stunning, and it takes your breath away. And then you go up there and, like, you know, make sure you take a bottle of water. It's pretty hard to get up there. It's just incredible. It's just incredible to see it, and it's so well preserved. So well preserved. There's also, you can do Ratai, but Ratai doesn't really look like Ratai. What have they done to it? My pride and joy. But you can see the main strip and be like, oh yeah, I can kind of work that out. Yeah, Malashov, you can go there. You can do the monastery. There's you could basically go everywhere. But the thing is, they often, when you go, they'll have events and stuff on. They have something called KCD Live. So have a look out for what dates they're operating on that at these venues, because they'll have something on, and they'll even have volunteers or workers there that will help you and entertain you and show you around. And so they're very, like, when you go to these locations, that it's very. There's like a KCD poster somewhere, and you know
that's awesome.
It's been very embraced. The Czechs have really embraced it.
They're very proud of it.
That's the other one thing I want to say as to why I think this game is so good, and it's very unique, because when Warhorse were making this game, I think it wasn't just that they wanted to make something cool and different and something they were passionate about, like in terms of the game. They were also making a game about them and their heritage and their, like, ancestors. And so I think when things got probably rough one day and they were a bit down, I reckon internally they were probably thinking, this is ours, you know, This is a game about our people and our history. And that's unique. You don't really get that, you know? I mean, of course, whatever you work on, you're going to be passionate about as a creative. But, like, to add on there that you're also telling a story about your history, I think is probably why it's dripping in passion and why you can feel that, you know? Yeah.
What a wonderful place to leave it, with an impassioned speech and some tour guidelines for somewhere 17,000 kilometers away.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Thank you so much for joining us, Luke, and please a round
My
of applause
pleasure.
for our wonderful guest.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,